speed is my motto, nothing's ever holding back.
This week on iRacing, the Mazda MX-5s were at the Nürburgring on the Nordschleife. Just 3 laps, nearly 25 minutes of racing. And somehow, in race after race, the race was over before the first lap even finished, and sometimes even before the first corner. I watched the same thing happen again and again. Drivers trying to win a 3-lap Nordschleife race in the opening few corners. Cold tyres, full fuel, 28 cars fighting for the same narrow strip of tarmac. And guess what the result was? In many of those races, 10 cars were already back in the pits with 10 minutes or more of repairs before lap 1 was even complete. That wasn't bad luck. That wasn't the track being unfair. That was total impatience. Here's the part that really matters. Across 10 races this week, my average starting position was 26th in either the back of the first split or the second split. My average finish from those positions was 14th, and it gave me safety, not having any incidents, and a little bit of iRating, so there was constant gain. And I didn't do that by carving my way through the field. I didn't do it with brave overtakes or high-risk moves. I did it by staying out of trouble and letting other drivers remove themselves from the race. Now laps 2 and 3, sure, they were still mistakes, still drivers coming together. That's normal, that's racing. But lap 1 was optional chaos. And that's what today's episode is really about. Because race strategy isn't about pit stops or fuel numbers or clever math. It's about understanding when not to act. And that lesson applies whether you're on a short track, a normal road course, or the longest, most unforgiving circuit on the service. So today we're going to take a deep dive into race strategy, not from the cockpit of perfection, but from the reality of how races are actually won and lost. Let's get into it. When most iRacers hear the words race strategy, they think it's about pit stops, fuel saving and tyre choices. And yes, clearly those things matter, but real strategy starts much earlier than pit lane. It's an attitude to racing against your fellow iRacers. Race strategy is decision making, but under pressure. It's knowing when to push, and when pushing achieves nothing. It's understanding the context of the race you're in and what's happening around you. The biggest strategic mistake I see week after week is drivers applying the same mindset to every track. They race a short track like it's a long one. They race a long track like it's a sprint. And then they're surprised when the results don't match the effort. So we're going to break this down properly, starting with short tracks. Now, short tracks create a matter of urgency, and sometimes that urgency is clearly justified. High lap counts, constant traffic, limited space, and very little time to recover from mistakes. On short tracks, track position matters. Qualifying matters more than many drivers want to admit. Starting 5 places higher can save you 20 laps of frustration. And here's where strategy still comes into play. On short tracks, not every position is worth fighting for. If you're side by side, for example, into a corner that never goes too wide cleanly, you're not being brave, you're basically being impatient. Short tracks reward drivers who can do the following: A. Pick their battles, B. Exit corners well, and C. Think 2 laps ahead, not 2 corners ahead. Tyre management is subtle here. You don't feel it falling away immediately, but overdrive early and the car starts pushing, sliding and overheating. And once that happens, the field doesn't wait for you. The smart short track driver understands this simple truth. You don't need to win the race early. You need to still be in the race later on. Aggression has a place on short tracks, but only when it's controlled, calculated and earned. Now, let's talk about what most people would call a normal circuit. 2 to 5 minutes lap times, 1 pit stop, sometimes optional, enough space to breathe, but enough variables to trip you up. This is where strategy becomes flexibility. Fuel windows matter here, but not as much as people think. What really matters is adaptability. Drivers often commit to a strategy before the green flag even drops, and then basically refuse to change it, even when the race clearly demands something different. Traffic changes things, incidents change things, yellow flags change everything. Sometimes fresh tyres are worth it, sometimes they aren't, because you rejoin into chaos. Sometimes undercutting works, sometimes staying out in clean air is faster even on older rubber. The mistake drivers make here is racing the spreadsheet instead of racing the situation. Good strategy on normal circuits is about asking one question constantly. What gives me the cleanest, least risky path to the finish? Not the fastest lap, not the bravest move, but the cleanest path. Now we're going to have a short break and we're going to come back and talk about long track strategy. Now we come back to the long tracks, viewers and listeners, and to the Nordschleife example that opened this episode. Long tracks change everything. Mistakes are amplified, incidents are more catastrophic, especially on this track, and recovery is often impossible. Yet drivers still approach lap 1 as if the race is about to end. And I can't really understand that mindset at all. Here's the reality. On a 3-lap Nordschleife race, the field will spread out. Mistakes will happen ahead of you and behind you. Time gaps will appear without you forcing anything. And yet, drivers dive for gaps that don't exist. They go side by side through sections that punish overlap. They push hardest when the car is at its worst. That isn't racing instinct, that's emotional driving. The Nordschleife doesn't reward bravery, it rewards respect. Respect for the track, respect for the car, and respect for the length of the race. My results this week weren't impressive because of speed, they were impressive because of restraint. I didn't gain positions by overtaking at all. I gained them by still circulating and staying on the track with my car out the pits. Now that's a strategy that anybody can follow. Then there's the mental side of strategy. This is the part nobody wants to talk about. Most strategic errors don't come from a lack of knowledge, they come from emotion. Frustration after losing a position, panic after a bad qualifying, anger at another driver. Those emotions lead to rushed decisions, and rush decisions end races. Good strategy requires emotional control. So we all must accept at times that not every race is winnable, that not every position is yours to take, and that sometimes the smartest move is no move at all. If you can reset mentally after mistakes, you will outperform faster drivers who can't. Now that's not theory, that's observable reality in iRacing. Now, there was lots of arguments this week between fellow drivers on iRacing. Lots of derogatory words, shall we say, that we all hear, probably day to day on iRacing. But they've only got themselves to blame. Now, the car is going to change again on the Nordschleife for the session that I'm in and racing this season. So it'll be interesting if the save drivers turn up next week as the car changes to a higher class of car. The MX-5 is obviously the rookies car, so it gathers a lot of participation, which is good for week one. But boy, there's people who just cannot drive that track to their abilities. And as you probably know, unless you go and qualify for the Nordschleife probably an hour before the actual race is scheduled, you are just plonked in wherever your iRating puts you. So, closing to the podcast already. We're going to bring it home with something simple. One strategic rule for each type of track. On short tracks, think about these words in your head. Protect position first, pace comes later. On normal tracks, stay flexible, don't lock yourself into one plan. And on long tracks, finish clean, the race will come to you. If you want better results, stop asking how to go faster. Start asking where risk is actually justified, because the fastest driver doesn't always win, but the smartest ones usually finishes. And that's the learning point or the epiphany moment that all drivers on iRacing must go through, or you're going to be stuck in that vicious cycle of chasing iRating, but you're not doing it. And on the low road, that's what we're all chasing. Well, that's the end of a shortish episode because guess what? It's Christmas. So this podcast is going out a day early, Christmas Eve, to make sure that you guys and girls, viewers and listeners can have a happy Christmas with your friends, family and significant others. Hope you've enjoyed today's podcast, and I'll see you again on the track, hopefully this side of this year. If not, have a great and a happy new year, and I'll see you again on the track and on the podcast in 2026. Happy iRacing.
Whatever it takes, we're racing, we're in the zone. Whatever it takes, we push hard, never alone. I'm in the cockpit, the engines roar, hear me now. We're racing circles, got a hustle made a vow. Chasing victory, it's all or nothing on the track. Speed is my motto, nothing's ever holding back. Whatever it takes, we're